So for the past 6 weeks, I've been quiet about the Twisted Wonderland anime. I have my thoughts, I have my criticisms, but overall, I thought it was fun. And better than I expected, honestly. But episode 7...
Oh, no.
We need to talk about Riddle's mother. More specifically, about how her portrayal alters the balance of the Riddle versus Ace debate. Now let me ask you a question. When you were watching episode 7, did you ever feel like Ace was being too harsh? Or that Ace should have considered Riddle's past more? Did you ever feel like Ace was the villain here? It's possible that you felt that way because the anime showed us Mrs Rosehearts far too early. But before I go into the main discussion, let me just briefly comment on other things in episode 7 that isn't related to Mrs Rosehearts and I don't know where to put them. So first, regarding the English dub for this episode, Child Riddle's dub actor is so adorable. I think the kid is really skilled. And now we also have Ortho's first appearance, which didn't give him many lines, but I think he sounds nice. It is amazing. But most of all, Riddle in episode 7, like his dub actor with all that growling and shouting, it's fantastic. I could pick out so many lines I love, but I especially love when he asks if Trey would betray him too. Although, speaking of which, why did they only keep that part and not the part where Riddle goes crazy wondering if Trey's magic is more outstanding than him because it would deny all of his suffering to hone his magic capabilities, right? I am crying. They added all those slice of life moments. Okay, all those unnecessary flashbacks, fine. But then they cut some of the most important lines in the chapter showing Riddle's downward spiral and Trey reaching for him, trying to save him? Like, why? Also, why is there Riddle's internal monologue in Trey's flashback about the knocking sound or the strawberry tart? I guess child Trey can just read minds now? On that note, the anime also forgot to emphasize that Riddle was sneaking out during his 1-hour self-study time each day. And they spent the animation budget on the Phantom, which looks great, instead of on Riddle's overblot transformation. So he wasn't really moving in the transformation. The allusion to Pool of Tears was also really unclear, even though it was really clear in the manga. Okay, now on to Mrs Rosehearts. If there's any dub-onlys, anime-onlys watching this, please either watch the game chapter 125 or the Japanese version of Riddle's backstory in episode 7, just so we're all on the same page. Thank you! Now first, I'll briefly introduce what kind of character Mrs Rosehearts is. So the whole point of her character is her hypocrisy. It's the irony created by her misguided belief that she knows what's best for Riddle while actually making him suffer. The fandom has a tendency to demonize Mrs Rosehearts. Now, I'm not trying to justify what she has done, but the interpretation that she micromanages Riddle's every move because she doesn't love him is just wrong. Yes, maybe she wanted to raise Riddle correctly just so he can become her ideal child. No, making your child a trophy is not a healthy mindset. But she also cared deeply about Riddle's health and achievements. She wanted Riddle to be healthy so much that she micromanages the nutrients in his birthday cake. She would never say, "What is the matter with you?" and blame Riddle because in her mind, Riddle is the perfect child that she raised. She would blame the other kids for leading him astray way before saying it's Riddle's problem, because then she would be admitting that she's not the perfect mother. You cannot deny that her arrogance makes her believe in Riddle's absolute obedience. You also cannot deny that while her ways are misguided and problematic, she loves Riddle. Next, I'll talk about Mrs Rosehearts' dub voice. So her dub voice started as overly sugary and protective, which is great. But then she reprimanded Riddle, and she had this guttural, screechy, screaming kind of voice. And I'm here wondering why no one on the directing team bothered to give the poor dub actress a note on what the original voice sounded like.
なんてこと。予定をサボっただけでなく、外で砂糖の塊を食べてくるなんて。
In Japanese, she sounds exasperated and stern, yes, but it's not a full-on scream. It feels like she's in her own head ranting about her disbelief and anxiety and paranoia rather than shouting at Riddle.
What is the matter with you? You not only ignored your schedule, but you went out to eat that sugar-laden filth!
In the English dub, however, she's using a lot of heavy, throaty noises, and all of it is directed at Riddle. In short, the Japanese version gives off the message, "I can't believe you did this," while English gives off the message, "I can't believe you did this." This leads to two problems. First, it diminishes the threat she poses to us as an audience. Mrs Rosehearts is scary because you don't know when or how she would explode. If someone's screaming at you gutturally every time they speak, you get used to it very quickly, and you start thinking that they're all bark and no bite. Imagine if Mother Gothel talked like this the first time you see her entangled.
You are not leaving this tower! Ever!
If she hits you with full power from the very beginning, it's hard for her to get any scarier because she certainly isn't going to get any louder. But if the scene keeps pushing a character whose anger seems to be slowly building, you'd be scared every second, fearing the eventual explosion. That is what Mrs Rosehearts was like in the game. Secondly, the dub changes her character and removes all her care and hypocrisy. Once again, the entire point of Mrs Rosehearts' character is that she believes what she does is best for Riddle without realizing the harm she's causing. She would not shout at Riddle like she did in the dub, because then she would make herself sound like
the bad guy.
Now in Japanese, her scolding in the strawberry tart scene started with a line that translates roughly to, "How could you even suggest that?" But she's actually more concerned with nagging Riddle to never eat unhealthy foods that could hinder his studies more than the fact that Riddle is suggesting it. Her enemy is the food, not the child. In the second scene, Riddle shirked his studies and ate a strawberry tart, but she pins all the blame on it on Trey and Chenya. She would never admit her own son was to blame, because then she would also be admitting she herself wasn't the perfect mother. In Japanese, her first line is "Nante koto?" meaning something like, "How could this happen?" But in the dub, it translates to, "What is the matter with you?" implying that she blames Riddle. The translation could still work if the voice actress was told to sound like she was paranoid or anxious about Riddle disobeying her, which means she's paranoid or anxious about her own imperfections as a mother. So something like, "What is the matter with you?" and not like blaming. But unfortunately, that's not how it went in the dub. In the dub, she was screaming at Riddle, 100% blaming him, and the "Was it those two who led you astray?" sounded like an afterthought. In short, Mrs Rosehearts' scariness and hypocrisy is best portrayed when she sounds like she's wholeheartedly believing she knows what's best for Riddle. The audience needs the space to work out that even though she believes her love is true, her actions had caused much distress for Riddle. If she's guttural and screaming every word, how do we hear the irony? Finally, all of this matters because her portrayal and the early reveal of Riddle's backstory now make the Riddle versus Ace debate unfair. I remember the one thing that surprised me so much I got hooked on Twisted Wonderland 5 years ago was the library scene when Ace said Riddle's problem is his own problem, not his mom's. The game's story did a wonderful job on baiting us to sympathize with Riddle through Trey's perspective, only to surprise us with Ace saying the most correct words ever said in the entire Heartsteel book. The main thesis of Twisted Wonderland Book 1 is that Riddle's actions are his own responsibility. We, and Ace, can sympathize with Riddle, but we, through Ace, also understand that not everyone can forgive Riddle's actions just because he had a sad past. This is something that holds true for real life and holds true for Mrs Rosehearts as well. just because you think you're justified doesn't mean you're actually right. I am a huge Riddle fan and I've loved him for 5 years. But regardless of whose side I'm on, to bring out the story's main message, the game and anime must give the audience a fair share of supporting arguments for both sides of the Riddle versus Ace debate before Riddle's overblot ends, so we can make our own judgment about his rampage by then. We're supposed to hear about Riddle's circumstances, not feel his pain. When Riddle said, "My mother has never been wrong," before he overblots, we're supposed to believe that he believes it, not to judge whether his mother was actually wrong or not. To do so, the anime cannot show us too much objective detail on what Mrs Rosehearts actually did, so that we can't make a judgment on her yet, and so that we focus on thinking about Riddle's mindset. And what did the anime do? They showed child Riddle and Mrs Rosehearts before Riddle actually attempted murder and overblotted. We were never supposed to see these flashbacks before Riddle's overblot because the story needs us to, like Ace, judge 17-year-old Riddle for who he is, not who he was. We already got several child Riddle flashbacks before episode 7, and the portrayal is very sympathetic. Like, everyone would sympathize with Riddle if child Riddle is that cute. Ace is literally arguing at the wall while everyone stare at that adorable little baby face. The anime is not showing the supporting arguments fairly, it's actively arguing against Ace. Then, showing Mrs Rosehearts before Riddle's overblot is like a dog showing you puppy eyes before biting you. You will perceive their potential goodness before their badness. You will perceive Ace's arguments as unfair or too harsh before Riddle has time to show you that he's willing to attack people because he's too stubborn to be proven wrong. The game's story's message was Ace has a point, but Riddle has a reason for being so tyrannical too. Ace pushed Riddle too far, but Riddle reacted too extremely. The anime, on the other hand, is saying, Ace has a point, but look at child Riddle, can you really blame him? Ace pushed Riddle too far, but look at what happened when Riddle disobeyed, can you really blame him? I'm someone who knows the story, and even I felt like Ace wasn't being very convincing in episode 7. The anime isn't a fair debate anymore, it's bashing Ace in favor of Riddle. The dub is leading to more misunderstandings about Mrs Rosehearts' specific kind of hypocrisy. The reason why Twisted Wonderland is so special to me is because it has characters who are flawed. But through conflicts and resolutions, they find ways to take responsibility for their actions and find friends who know them at both their best and their worst. Showing us Riddle's backstory too early makes the portrayal biased on his side before we can judge him. It's not giving enough weight to Riddle's actions, which means his eventual healing and efforts to earn forgiveness will mean that much less. If any anime-onlys are watching this, hi! I personally think the anime is doing a great job with many things, but they're really messing up the pacing and the order of the scenes that it steers the character in a different direction. The Heartslabille book is short compared to other books. If you're ever curious about why we love Twisted Wonderland so much, or why the library scene hits me so hard, please consider reading the Heartslabille story in the game. You can find tons of translations on YouTube. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.